All right, we'll get started. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for logging in. I know it's after work, middle of the week. It is tough to attend these webinars, but thank you very much for taking the time to attend. As some of you or most of you may know, ISH is the acronym for Oman Startup Hub, www.omanstartuphub.com. It's the platform to connect, discover, and learn about the Omani startup ecosystem. If you're a startup, an investor, an advisor, or someone just interested in the startup ecosystem, ISH is the place to go to learn about what's happening, what events, news, and activity. We host monthly webinars for the ecosystem, by the ecosystem. Today, our topic is startups and banking. It's hosted by Ahlibank. We have 3 experts from Ahlibank who will be taking you through everything you need to know about SME and startup banking. And we have a bit of an in-depth as well presentation about VAT, which might be of interest to you. The session is an interactive one. Please do ask your questions in the Q&A box. If you'd like to speak, then you can raise your hand and we will unmute your mic. Questions will be taken in both English and Arabic, so please do continue to ask your questions throughout the session, but we will wait for the presentations to finish and we will take the questions after. We'll go through the questions that were submitted before during registration, and then we'll take the ones that are live. So to start off, I'll hand it over to Hassan Al-Lawati, AGM at Ahlibank, to get us started with the session. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. First of all, Sarah, thank you very much for asking us to be a part of this wonderful initiative, and we would love to add value as Ahlibank, as an institute to the businessman community here in Oman, and would love to add value to everybody who's in Oman. But the subject of interest is quite interesting, and it's quite debatable. And if you can see from the presentation, or from the subject, it is improving the credit worthiness of MSMEs. It's a subject where it's very close to my heart. I've touched base that through my career and through my even studying. And credit worthiness, to be frank, is the how to improve the decision of a bank to lend any entity, and improving its situation, improving the way information flow, and the ability of the bank to take a decision while lending such any company, or especially in our subject of the debate, the MSMEs. We have a few things to look at. First is the SME definition as per the Central Bank of Oman, the CBO. How does an SME department in a bank function? Most of us do inquire about that, and how does the decision making and the process and the flow of information happen? SME products, what do banks offer to SMEs in terms of financial aids and other products? And understanding the requirements of the bank to extend the financial aids to SME. Banks have certain requirements which are usually quite difficult for somebody who did not interact with the bank. But these information, once provided, it will help the decision of the bank into extending financial aid at any given point of time. As per CBO, a latest BM circular came out in July 2020 to revise the SME definition. The SME definition, as per Oman, is any company with an employee base of less than 150 employees and an account turnover, or sales to be precise, of less than 5 million Omani riyals. with its different specification and dividends, dividends. Micro enterprises 1 to 10 employees or less than 150 turnover. Small enterprises 11 to 50 employees and 100 to 500 as a turnover in the account. And the medium, finally, 51 employees to 150 employees and a turnover from 1.25 million to RO 5 million riyals. So many people do debate. The CBO circle says that any company which falls one of these calibers, so a company, even a company which has an employee of less than 150 but a turnover of 5 million, can be eligible for SME aid, but that of course is subject to discussion. But any company falls within both of these parameters, it's definitely an SME, and it falls within the SME financial programs all across the country. Yes, the process of getting an approval, and first when you enter a bank, or first when you present your request for you think of borrowing, the normal track where any decision making is followed is first to meet the customer. And after meeting the customer, the key thing in meeting the customer is the interface. It's the first interaction between the bank official and the customer. And knowing his personality, knowing his ability to run his business is crucial to take a decision. The feedback from the decision maker, be it or the relationship manager, which will come to know what is his role, is crucial and it's important. So the meeting gives you that comfort to lend a person. Second, and after understanding, requesting the necessary documents. Knowing and asking the necessary documents usually help the bank to decide the business model, how a company operates. You may be an upper stream, you may be a downstream, you may be a wholesaler, you may be a retailer, you may be a direct approach, somebody who provides services or a product. Depends. The bank needs to understand the ins and outs, the first ins and out of your business for them to take a decision and to analyze the risk. And after that is prepared, and during, let's go back a step. During that process, you will be hearing a lot of questions from the customers, from the bank. So just bear with them. It is their job. They need to know all of that. And then after knowing all that information, they need to demonstrate that knowledge into a piece of paper called, in different banks, it's called a different, it's called differently in different banks. Some people call it the credit application. Some people call it the credit memo. It depends. But the purpose of that memo is to deliver this information to the decision makers in different levels. There are different levels of approval. They need to know what is this business all about. Then after that, and between the third step and the fourth step, there is a lot of back and forth, because there are a lot of decision makers, depends on the amount involved. So a lot of back and forth between this. So this is where the most time is consumed into taking a decision. This third and the fifth and the last step is finalizing the security documents. That includes the documentation, the promissory note, the security, the tangible or the non-tangible security, depends on the terms of which the approval has been made. So depending on that, in that stage, we need to finalize the document and accordingly disperse the required facility on the term loan into the account of the customer. Any SME department, to be frank, is contains of three main layers of decision making. First is the relationship manager, which is the direct contact with the customer. He's the first line of defense. He's the first line to interact with everybody, with the customer. Comes after that the team leader or the unit head, depends on which bank are you dealing with, and depends on his seniority. And that is a guy who is a bit more senior. He helps relationship manager to take a decision and meets the customer you might not say every time, but he meets the customer time to time to help understand the business model and how things operate. And the final comes the head of department, depends on how senior is he. Of course, the designation changes, but his function is more of a strategic kind of a thing, and taking a decision on whatever to extend this financial aid or to alter or change the condition of approval or to improve on the write-up and finalizing the decision making. The next is the bank products offered to SMEs or MSMEs. There are two types of products. There are the SME loan programs or the SME loan products, and there are the other products, the customer service products and the electronic banking. Many SMEs do, although they need financial aid, but they also need to organize their, payrolls in a decent manner, in a professional manner. And there comes the several non-financial aids given by the bank, like the checkbooks and the transfers, whereby money gets transferred electronically to their suppliers. And of course, there are the trade finance products, which are mainly concerned on bringing the materials, especially if the customer is dealing into products and the products are offshore. It gives the supplier the assurance that the bank is supporting that entity, and the product will come. So it eases out the transaction and eases out the flow of product and cash through banks to help facilitate for customers. And then comes the electronic banking, and this is the flavor of the month, obviously, especially with the unfortunate pandemic which we're going on. The electronic products and the facilities given by the banks is a must, especially with heavy transactional companies and SMEs. It requires it only requires your attendance once to the bank, and then you can do all your transaction through electronic banking, which also is beneficial. Comes the SME loan product. I think this is what we're looking for, but the SME loan products are divided into two main categories. One is the working capital finance, and the other one is CapEx finance or the fixed asset finance. I'll touch base on the CapEx finance and the fixed asset finance. Although both of them look alike, but they're quite different. The CapEx finance is concerned with any capital investment the company needs to take. For example, paying a rent for 5 years in advance. From a business point of view, sometimes, and depends case to case, it may make a difference, because sometimes you get a discount on a 5-year lump sum payment. So that is not an asset purchase, but we can put it as a requirement for a loan, because a CapEx finance, because you're basically securing your expense for the coming 5 years. And there are multiple uses for it. I just mentioned an example. It can be also an investment you can take that loan and you can invest in shares, which can also add value to your balance sheet and to your company look-alike. When you go to you can have another source of income, then you can have it as an asset in your balance sheet, which add value, which is also justified as part of the CapEx finance. Then comes the fixed asset finance, which is given in the term of a loan. And that includes acquiring an asset, buying a warehouse, buying a car, buying a head office, you name it. There's a lot of uses for the loan, but it has to include an asset purchase, a hire purchase, where you can buy an asset and add value to the company and to the income stream with it. The working capital finance is mainly you can use it for two things mainly. One is financing your receivable and inventory, especially with the delays in the working capital cycle you have, and not getting payments regularly from your receivables, or not able to liquidate your inventory in as fast manner as required, because it depends on the nature of the business. You have a slow moving inventory, you have a fast moving, and you may have a combination of both. So that facility will help you facilitate and get you a smooth working capital finance, especially. And the second use for it is for the short-term finance. We may use it to pay your salaries. You may use it for a quick business requirements where you're sure, and I repeat, 100% sure you will be able to recover that money in a short period. There comes the short-term requirement of you can use it which can be in format of an overdraft or a short-term loan, where the repayment and the cost is relatively higher because the risk is higher. So you're sure you can recover this money, where banks can add value to you and to your business. Comes the last point in our presentation is understanding the requirements. I did face that towards my career, that many of the customers do ask us that why do you ask a lot of information? If you understand, I think if you understand these 5 main points, you would understand why a lot of documents and why a lot of questions are asked, and some of the documents could be not available with the an SME business, given the nature and given the complexity of some of these information, but it is necessary to take a decision. So if it is not available, then the bank has to find an alternative way to take a decision, which sometimes takes some time. The bank needs to understand the business model. We have touched base in the beginning of the presentation. What is a business model and what is the business cycle? The bank needs to know the in and out. The first time the money enters, the first time the loan or the financial aid comes to the company, till the next time, till the company is able to recover that money back and convert it. It can have several layers. You can take that money, buy an inventory, then that inventory, you need to sell it out, that inventory gets converted into a receivable, then you collect that receivable and convert it into a cashback. The bank needs to know the cycle and how many days it usually takes you to do that. So that comes to that, the bank will only be able to know through checking the source document and the financial information available through your audited financials or through your account statement transactions. The bank also needs to know which stage is your business in. The business usually goes into 4 main stages: a startup, and then goes the acceleration stage, where you grow up and you just started in. You finish your business, you finish your setup procedures, and you start your business, and you start generating income. You start selling your product or your services, and you start bringing in new customers, and there is your business booms and flourishes. And then comes the maturity stage, whereby you've reached to a saturated kind of a stage where you have no more new services to provide. You are known in the market, and you have reached your optimum, whereby there is no possible much growth in the business. Then, God forbids, then if this business continues like this, then you're going to face the decline stage, whereby you get faced by competitors, where your market share gets reduced, and you have to share your income, your revenue with other competitors. The bank needs to know which stage you are in, and of course, a successful company will always be in that 2 stages: the first, the second, and the third stage. Will try not to reach to that 4th stage, whereby their income starts reducing. They keep on inventing, they keep on adding new products, they keep on adding new services. So they keep on between these 2 stages. The business, the borrower, the borrower also needs to demonstrate his knowledge and understanding of the business. And if is he good enough, or is he able to run his business in a way, and he understands the merits and of the risks behind his business, and what is his business all about, and how he can recover his money back and settle his loan, and understands the hazards of taking a loan. comes the subject where the bank has, all the banks or any secured lender has to be sure, because we're dealing in public's money. The money in the banks are not owned to the banks, it's public's money. So bank needs some assurance, some security to be provided that this money is going to come back. And God forbids, if anything happened, the bank can recover the money back through other ways. So comes that security line, and how comfortable is your security given and your guarantees to repay that liability. And comes the other, the final thing is the borrower needs to demonstrate the ability to understand the major risks associated with his business. Like any business you pick up, any business has its risks. Some of the businesses have the entry cost is low, but then the competition risk is very high. So then he need to understand how unique is he from his competitors. If he can provide that assurance to the bank that I understand the competition, however, I have did that, this and this and this, then of course decision making would be easier. I think that's it in a nutshell. And I'm glad. Again, I'm thanking you, Sarah, for this opportunity, and I wish I've added value in this, and I'm waiting for the questions. Sarah?
Thanks, Hassan. Mohammed, you can please go ahead with your VAT presentation.
Assalamu alaikum. Okay, hi everyone. This is me, Mohammed Al-Lawati. Okay, I'm working in Ahlibank in Finance Department. Me and my colleague, Budur, will be talking about VAT. Okay, we have prepared this presentation in Arabic, so it will be much easier. As you know, most of the SME that will be dealing with the buyer, supplier, and the wording by Arabic, it will be much easier for all of you. As all of you are aware about VAT, value added tax. Value added tax, it has been introduced in 16 April, okay, and it's almost 5%. هي ضريبة غير مباشرة بنسبة 5%. Basically هذه الضريبة تفرض على معظم السلع والخدمات. زين, till now, even in banks, okay, we are getting a lot of questions because since it's a new thing, so we are getting a lot of questions on VAT, and we are trying to solve those things because since it's something new. Now I will ask my colleague Budur, okay, she will start giving you the brief presentation about VAT, and we'll be waiting for questions. Budur?
Yes, Mohammed.
Yes.
Hi everybody, Assalamu alaikum. This is Budur Belushi. As we know that VAT started on 16th of April, and it's a new thing in a country. All of us, we have different questions, new questions, and facing different of challenging every days. In a simple way, we can say that is what is VAT? VAT, it is like it is a value added tax where the VAT being calculated in a different supply chain. Also, there is some common challenge we will face in a business way, where we will buy goods for our business, and also there will be customers who will come and purchase from our businesses. So there will be also in between the tax authority who will collect the VAT from us. So if I keep myself in a business way, like I have a shop and I want to buy things to my shop, and in the other way there is customers also who is coming to my shop to buy goods from me, and I'm adding the VAT for them. So in a simple way, it is like a circle where the tax come in and a tax go out. We will pay the tax authority the net of whatever that we are getting and whatever that we are also buying. And then if we see this example, we take a bank as in a middle way, and like a simple example, as a bank, if the bank buying an ATM machines, so for ATMs machines, I will pay VAT also. Like for example, the ATM machines maybe cost us 5,000 riyal, so 250 will be the VAT. Okay, we will keep the 250 in a side, and then there is customers who's coming to the bank also, who will get the banking services. So the customers in the financial services, we will getting the VAT only for charges. We will getting the VAT only from the charges. So we are also collecting from the customer the VAT. So we have two ways now. We have input tax and we have output tax. So the net of the output and the input at the end, in the quarter base, we will pay it to the tax authority. So it's not only whatever that we are getting from the customer, we will pay to the tax authority. It is a little bit of calculation based. We will calculate in a quarter base what we are getting and what we are also purchase.
And even, this is me, Mohammed Al-Lawati, I will add up before going to the next slide. Let's keep it easier. Like example for SME. Okay, SME business, let's assume that I have a business, okay, I'm going to purchase a product. This product, I will purchase it on 5,000 riyal. Okay, so I have to pay a VAT of 5%, which is 250 riyal. Then what's the confusion? Many people are asking, okay, when I'm going to sell it, definitely I will sell it with profit. So let's assume I'm going to sell it by 10,000. Again, 10,000 when I will sell it, okay, I will add the VAT of 5%, which is 500 riyal. Now, when it comes to the payment to the government, which is every quarter, as Budur, she said, look, already while purchasing, we have paid 250 riyal. And while selling, we have received 500 riyal. Now, what we are going to pay to the government, it will not be 250 and 500. It will be the net of selling and buying. The selling price was 10,000, and we have received the VAT of 500. And once we bought the product, we have paid from 5,000 to 50. So the net off will be 250. So we are going to pay only 250. We'll not pay more than this amount. So I hope that this example is clear, okay? And I think we'll be covering a lot of some other example in our slide. So I will let now Budur to continue the presentation. Yes, Budur.
So as we see here in Arabic, it's written ضريبة المدخلات and ضريبة المخرجات. It is basically the input and output. In a simple way, we can say the purchases and the selling. So whatever that we are purchase and whatever that we are also selling, at the end, we will get the net and we will pay it for the tax authority.
Yes, Budur.
Yeah, you can go ahead with the registration.
No, okay. No, better even explain
Okay,
in this example.
Okay, here we have also an example for the input and output اللي هي ضريبة المدخلات والمخرجات. So basically, there will be some confuse for who's exactly need to pay the tax, or how can I know this person, like I will go to the shops and then they will ask me to pay VAT. So before all this confusion, we need to know there is a registration for the VAT. So for the registration, you will get a VAT number. Most of the shops, they will provide the VAT number where we will know, okay, this shop is registered company, a registered shop. Then we will be in a safe way, we can pay the VAT to them. So if we go for this example, like we have a company who already registered in a tax authority, they have the VAT number, and they want to sell some goods for their shop. So they purchase for 50,000 riyal goods for the shop, and they pay VAT for 5%. So the 5% of 50,000, it is 2,500. And the other way, also this company is selling the goods. So they selling a goods for around 150,000 riyal Omani, and they also charge VAT on it for 5%, which is 7,500 is the VAT. So we have here purchase, and also we have selling, which is input and output of the tax. So as a company, I'm now a company, or I'm a shop. Now I have from the customers, I have 7,500 I collected, and also I bought goods for 50,000, and I also extra for that I have 2,500. I with my purchase I also give as a VAT 2,500. So as a combine, now I have 7,500 and 2,500. I will get to pay only 5,000 to the tax authority, which is the net. This is on a quarterly basis. It will be a self-calculation. We will collect all the invoices and we will do a self-calculation for our company.
بالنسبة للتسجيل في ضريبة القيمة المضافة, I'm sure that many people wanted to know that the registration, okay, because it depends from business to business, or we can say قيمة التوريدات, the revenue. So here they have announced, okay, for the person, okay, للشخص الذي تتجاوز من المتوقع قيمة توريداته, the revenue more than million and more, okay, he should register from 1st February till 15 March. And this, I think it has been done with the most of the companies, especially big companies. Now there is other category. للشخص الذي تتراوح من المتوقع قيمة توريداته من 500,000 إلى مليون, okay, it's the same. The registration, they give them time till 1st of July. So they have this period of time and they should register. And the third category, which is from 250 to almost 499,000, they have exempted them now, but they should register by 1st of October. And for people, okay, like here, it's mostly coming the final thing for SME. For SME, okay, those people who are starting their business individually, okay, with revenue of 38,500 riyal, they can register on 1st April 2022. But again, there was a new announcement, Budur, that it's less than 19,000, right?
Yes, this is what you are talking about, is the mandatory registration. So it is already issued, and then there is another decision came for voluntary registration, اللي هو تسجيل اختياري, for whoever who hit their annual supplies 19,250. So whoever hit this amount of supply, 19,250, they can also register, and it is not mandatory for them.
Okay, and now, as many of you are knowing that there are many type of product. There are exempt product, okay, there are 0% product, and there are product that which is chargeable on VAT. So Udur, can you give them example on those one?
Yes, here we have a list of the exempt and 0% goods and services, which is being announced in the executive regulation. And to make it very simple, what is the difference between the exempt and 0%? The exempt goods and services, actually, it will be announced under a royal decree, which is saying that such products or service will be exempt. But for 0%, it should be showing in your invoices that this type of service or this type of goods, it is 0%, because in a future, the 0%, it may change. So that's why the differentiate between the 0 and the exempt, it is the exempt cannot be changed until there will be announced from the government itself. But the 0%, it may change anytime for any percentage in the future. So we have here an example of the 0% and the exempt. As we know, the education and the lands and financial services is all exempted, and we have some kinds of the health services having a 0%.
I can give you example here, okay? The exempt, as Budur, she said that exempted, that it comes from royal degree, بمرسوم سلطاني. Okay, but many people are asking, what about 0%? 0% هو ما عليه مرسوم, but I can give you an example. In some companies, some countries in Europe, okay, as you know that there is VAT even on salaries. Okay, so for the time being, okay, on our salary, there is no any VAT. Okay, it's 0%. But since there is no royal decree of exempting the salaries from the VAT, so you never know. Maybe tomorrow, by any chance, they're going to announce that even on salary, or I'm just giving an example, or other product, there might be VAT on it. And the VAT percentage, it depends. It might be 1%, 2%. This is still not announced, but it can be announced in the future. Aywa Budur. The last slide.
Yes, and this is a part of the executive regulation for the financial services. We took a screenshot what they mentioned exactly for the financial services exempt products and services.
And finally, I mean, this was our presentation about VAT. And as I said, that as it's just has been introduced now, so day by day, all of us, all the organization are learning. Many customers are coming with a lot of questions, okay, regarding VAT. So I think within 4 or 5 months, I mean, everyone will be clear. The staff, the customers, everyone will be aware and be well known about the VAT. Thanks for listening to this presentation from me and Budur.
Thank you, everyone. If you have any question, let us know.
Thank you, Mohammed, Budur, and Hassan. We will take some of the questions that came in earlier, but please, you can start typing in your questions in the Q&A box, and we will take those as well. So during registration, there were quite a few questions for you, Hassan. The first one is about financial policies and their effect on fintechs. I know it may not be relevant to you. We did have another session with the CBO FinTech Committee, but do you have any thoughts on that?
Actually, no. I don't have any thoughts about it right now. I'm still learning on it, so I don't want to give any opinion which is might be wrong. So can we pass on? Any other questions we can?
That's fair. Someone is asking specifically about housing loans, and in general, the loans, what's the highest risk loan, and how do you mitigate the risk as banks?
Okay. For a housing loan, the housing loan is a retail product, so it's not my area of expertise. However, the housing loan usually is a product which is backed up by an insurance. The product is structured and according to the age of the participant and the age of the borrower, and the number of years are decided to his age. Of course, a health test has to be made to define his health well-being. And then a loan is granted according to his salary, deducting a percentage which is agreed by the Central Bank of Oman, not exceeding 60% of his salary, and getting repaid. But this is not. If the guy who asked this question is inquiring if he can use such loan for business purposes, I don't recommend that, because it's too long. If you're going to depend your business on settling a loan which is 20 years old, then your business, there's something wrong in your business model. Any capex requirement or any loan you're going to use, you need to settle it within 10 to 12 years. But the housing loan can go up to 25 years, so it's a lot. And the highest risk loans, obviously, it is a loan which is without, for the bank or for the customer. If it's for the bank, the highest is where the I may say the overdraft. If you're talking short-term liability, then it is the overdraft, because there's no purpose and it's easily misused by the borrower. In my presentation, I've clearly said the overdraft has to be used for expenses which cannot be delayed. Something like salaries, wages, electricity bills, utilities, rent, things which are necessity for the business survival. And it should not be used, in fact, necessary for the business day-to-day requirement. It should not be easily used for other things, which unfortunately many people tend to do that. And it gets difficult for the bank and for the customer to repay, because the nature of interest and the nature of interest calculation on this account makes it quite expensive. Wherever other products can be used and it can save you money and with a better structured loan. The third question was it? What was it?
It's mitigating risk.
It depends on the product. Mitigating risk has to come from the customer, and it has to come from the bank itself. Both of them have to work together into reducing the risk. There are many risks in granting a loan. The risk of misusing funds, the risk of normal business situation. And who would have thought COVID became a big risk, and the health became a big risk. So there are a lot of risks. If the guy who asked maybe have a specific question on the risk, which risk are we talking about? Maybe I can be more of service or more of use for him.
There's some questions that previously, but I think you've answered them already. I'll just read them out, and then if you have anything to add, you can add to them. But I think you've covered them in your presentation. So one is about acquiring working capital loans, which you covered. Most banks do not cater to a startup account, but you did talk about micro SMEs. Okay, and I'm sorry.
I may add on the micro business and why do banks don't lend. In fact, it's generally a wrong statement. And we do finance startup, we do finance greenfield projects, we do finance loans without security, but it all depends on the other factors. If you have seen the presentation, I've kept the security item at the fourth point. the first 3 points were key important thing for me. If I know, if I'm sure that my money is secured with judging from the first 3 points, then the security becomes a secondary thing. I may say that on behalf of the business community and on the behalf of the banking community as well. We do care about MSMEs, and we do think that this is a cell where it has the major potential to grow. Major economies like Malaysia, India, Pakistan are all, and Vietnam as well, is based on SME business, and China have to be. We are sure, but we need to first be aware that the first 3 points are well secured. Then the security fact can be looked at, in a different manner.
That brings me to the next question, which is how can an SME get financed where they don't have security cash flow?
Exactly. Security is something else. Cash flow is something else. Without a cash flow, the transaction is not possible. But without a security, definitely the transaction would be possible if we secure the proper cash flow and a secured cash flow.
Great. What kind of investment do you do in a startup? And do you do, for example, equity investments? And what percentage of equity would you expect?
As a bank to do equity investments, yes. The question is quite broad. A bank to enter into an investment, that is something else. That's not my territory. That's the investment banking territory. But do we finance equity for customers? Yes, do we finance? Because I'll give you a simple example. We have a factory. We have five owners. 3 of them have their own equity cash to pump into the factory. The third one comes and asks for the loan to be made as an equity in that factory. Yes, we do that, subject to, of course, having a source of repayment and being able to judge the viability of the business. If the source of repayment of the equity loan is from the business itself, or is it a source which is defined later on? But in both cases, yes, we do look at it, and yes, we have done such transactions.
For Mohammed, there's a question here about VAT eligibility. Again, you covered it a little bit in your presentation already, but if you can give a little bit more detail on VAT eligibility and its relation to annual turnover. How much does the turnover have to be? I think you already had that table, and we will produce a summary document and share it with all the participants. But if there's any more details you'd like to share now, then please go ahead. Your mic is on mute, Mohammed.
Yeah, okay. Just let me open the presentation again, okay, because it was mentioned there in the presentation. Just 1 second. Yes, it's mentioned here on this page, okay. So basically, this is the table which shows the revenue for each organization. So for the first 2, you can say it's for large companies, but for SMEs or for startup businesses, okay, it will come in D, okay, for the person whose revenue is from 38 to 249,000. As I said, that he should register in April, okay, 22, and he have, a period of time. So, and there was a new announcement now. It came, as Budur have mentioned, that even for people revenue were starting from 90,000, they can register.
Great. So we'll be sharing this table anyway, and I think that will.
Yeah, I can share this presentation with you.
Great. Okay. Another question about projects, Hassan, especially if related to fintechs. Some banks are now offering some kind of partnership agreement where you would help kind of get the fintech up and running and be clients for that fintech. Is that something that Ahlibank is looking into? And can you give a bit more details about supporting fintechs as a bank?
It's debatable, to be frank, but I need to come back to you on this. We didn't do any finance for any fintechs, to give you an example, but I need to come back to you on this. I need to check further and come back to you.
Sure. We will, if there's any information you can share with me, then I can share it with all the participants.
Sure.
And someone is asking more details on project financing. So you did mention green. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. Project financing, it depends. If it's meant for SMEs, then the project financing comes in different aspects. If it's a construction project, we're talking about a supply of products, or is it a service as well? So it includes it's what we call a trunky kind of a set of services where we can provide a package of services where we provide in a single customer. So yes, we do. We have several products in that. Short-term loans are there, overdrafts are there, and of course the key thing is securing. If it's a product, then of course securing that product through the trade finance aids we have, such as the letter of credit and the refinancing that letter later on through short-term facilities, and obviously. And once the product is delivered, obviously we can discount the bill for the supplier, for the customer, for him to settle the immediate expenses for him. So several, yes, we do. And in fact, this is the most kind of financial aid which is quite structured, and its ins and outs of the cash is known and controllable, rather than having a term loan or an overdraft given out for a general purpose. Well, as a banker, I dislike by nature. It's not something I had. But yes, a project finance is something which I love, and I feel it is better for SMEs.
We just have 2 more questions that we'll have to cover.
Sure. I'm being very popular. Thank you.
It's coming up to 6 o'clock. We do want to end on time. So let's go through these 2 questions quickly. One is by Khulud, who's present right now, and she's asking if a business is selling products to pay by installments, for the customer to pay by installments. Does the bank have a way to deduct automatically from the buyer's bank account?
It has to be structured properly, but yes, it can be made. Personally, I haven't done any finance of such, because most of the installment business is going on with the cars, and now, especially in the last 2 years, where furniture is involved in this. But yes, the system as it is available, but it's usually done with the big merchants, something like the automotive business and the furniture business, where a major amount can be distributed among a few months a year. It depends, but yes, as a system, yes, it can be traced, it can be done, but it depends obviously on the volume of the transaction and the viability as a business. Because of course, IT infrastructure has to be made to some extent, so the cost has to be viable for everybody, for us and for the business itself. He has to incur the cost with us.
Okay. The last question before we close the session is about COVID or Corona relief. As we know, of course, the coronavirus particularly impacted businesses related to SME. People are wondering what kind of easing do you have for your customers in terms of loans, in terms of services for SMEs?
The government, thankfully, have announced this 3 stimulated packages of COVID deferrals for businesses, and it really came at the pinch of the hour. It came and it saved a lot of businesses from collapsing, especially. But this is not end of the story. Me and everybody knows that the business will not recover as soon as it looks like, especially with the vaccines are coming into the country, and the recovery of the country will take some time. Businesses, especially the consumer businesses, will not recover at since. So the banks do understand that. The banks do know that the recovery will take some time. What we can offer is a smooth, understood, and studied restructure of that liability. We're talking about the people who have borrowed. We can restructure the liability to ease the pressure on the merchant, on the customer for some time, until, and inshallah, things get improved, and then we can again adjust the liability to his requirement and his cash flow. But yes, banks are keen. Banks do understand, and they do accept restructure requests, because it's a must. A banker who doesn't understand the nature of don't understand the situation the country is in, doesn't deserve to be a banker. He has to understand we are here as financial intermediaries, and we are here to support the economy. Our key thing is to support the economy, and we're here to support the business, especially the SMEs.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Hassan. For everyone that attended, thank you very much as well. The bank, Ahlibank, is very interested to know what more they can do for SMEs, micro SMEs, and startups. So if you have any feedback on any products and services that you think you need, that you're not finding in banks or that you're not finding from Ahlibank, do reach out to the Ush team at support@omanstartuphub.com, or of course directly to the Ahlibank team. But we're happy to coordinate any kind of needs that you have with the Ahlibank team. Thank you again. Do follow us on social media. We're on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And this session has been recorded. We'll upload it on YouTube, and we'll also be sending a summary of the key points that were discussed, the main questions, and of course, some of the very important tables and numbers that the team shared with us. So we will be sharing that within the next week. Thank you again, and we'll see you all soon.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.